All right. This home therapy lark seems to be all right. The reason I'm doing it this way, because as I'm telling you yourself, Albine, is that you're hate the sound of your own voice and you're not too keen on cameras. But if you're doing this as therapy, and I believe this is a good thing, is to get it off your chest, I'm going to do another story, and hopefully in a way that maybe if you look at it and you hear yourself, it'll become clearer, because for some reason you misunderstood. Take, for instance, the first book I wrote, okay? And this came up coincidentally because a dear, as Brian said this morning, the old dame of Idra, Barbara Lapchick, just passed last week. And she was the one who said to me on Idra, hey, you've got to stop telling your stories, you've got to write some of this shit down. And so I did. And then I thought, hey, I'll do a story about that because it does explain one of the big things in my life that nobody understands. It's only a little book, but it's a big thing. You'll see why. All right? And I opened it up, and I hadn't read it, I hadn't picked it up in donkey's years. And lo and behold, who leaps out of the page? But thanks to Barbara Lapchick, and she wrote a wonderful review, and very glowing. Anyway, she encouraged me to write. The bottom line, this book, all right? It was published in I don't know, about 2002, 2003, let's say. Okay. And here's the funny thing. I called it Rhubarbs from a Rock. That photograph is of a drowned rat in my bunker toilet. Now, there's a reason for that, and I thought it was all very clever, but it's going to show yet again why you misunderstood. People said, you can't put a drowned rat on the cover of your first book, mate. That's going to be... I said, no, you don't understand. That's reverse marketing. It works like this. Escaping the rat race. Put it on there. I have escaped the rat race. That's what the story's about. It's a combination of short stories. Secondly, these days, guys, you know, there's books for coffee tables and kitchens and waiting rooms. Hey, this is before phones had cameras and you could read them, right? Everybody reads something in the toilet. It's well known. Everybody goes in with not everybody, but magazine or something in the toilet. A toilet book. And there's a story about it because the neighbor threw some stuff down when he was cleaning his barrels out from the Retsina. And all the rats escaped. And this one came up in the toilet and was drowned. And it took me hours to Photoshop that shit. Can you believe it? And yeah, so that was the reason for my putting it on the cover. I thought this was clever marketing. I said, this is going to stand out. It's before Kindle and stuff, right? This is going to stand out in a bookshelf. And I mean, who's not going to take a second look? What, is that a drowned rat? And I've been very clever with it all. Yeah. And then, okay, open it up. It's about a guy who's escaped the rat race connection in a toilet. One of the last stories is about this particular photograph, a rat and a Retsina story on the rock. And anyway, as history will tell you, they were right, I was wrong. There's nothing clever about my that's what I looked like back then. Nothing clever about my marketing ploy, but I sort of understood it. So that was kind of, yeah, I didn't give a shit. I mean, it was great. I mean, a few faithful actually wrote some really lovely reviews, having read it, said it, encouraged it, said, yeah, we love your stories, and yeah, you put it down nicely. That's all very good. That's all I needed to hear. Anyway, I went and wrote another one later, but this is not the point of this. So that's written off, little book, okay, as, well, it didn't do nothing. I don't know. Even I don't know how much to sell. Maybe it's a couple of hundred, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, bottom line is I wasn't in charge of, I never have been in charge of finances, and my editor at the time was rather fond of commas, and we didn't go down. The bottom line, I suddenly get this email, right, from a guy from the BBC, say, we're coming to Hydra, I've read your book, Rhubarbs, I loved it, and I'm coming to Greece with a team for the BBC because we're coming for the opening of the Athens Olympics, 2004. Signed, it was a guy called Mike. So I wrote back and said, yeah, he says, we're coming for a day we want to do a shot on Hydra. Have you any ideas? And I loved your book. So, intro. I'm not going to go into all the boring details. Right, and I started chatting, became mates. I said to him, no, don't get a dolphin. If you're coming to do Hydra, why the hell worry with your equipment and all you guys? And I understand, these guys are on a budget. And I said, I can send a water taxi for you. Go to Ermione. They said they were going to Nathlon. They planned to go to Spetses and other places. And they were going to, I said, I'll send my mate with Mangeli. Siebert can go and pick you guys up. It's only half an hour by boat. With all your equipment, you don't have to deal with passengers and luggage. Mike said, oh man, this is awesome. And then blah, blah, blah. I started saying, I can arrange for a donkey. What do you suggest? Anyway, I helped him and I said, I can do all that for you. We became mates, right? Now, I remember thinking, fuck me. He wants to come. He's going to put Hydra on the BBC World Sports for the opening of the Olympics, all right? Now, the 2004 Olympics, if anybody remembers, 6 weeks beforehand, right? It was at the point where they're saying, fucking these Greeks, they're so behind and the stadiums aren't finished. Maybe as an emergency, we're going to go back to Barcelona. And it was seriously contemplated. Anyway, Greeks, beyond all measure, one of the most memorable evenings of my life. Greece, 100-1 outsiders, wins the Euro soccer, football. Not my favorite sport, mind you, but they won. And the euphoria. Now, here's an example. The country the next morning was vitalized by the sport. My belief in sport is so true. Revitalized, the country mobilized, and there was a whole different atmosphere, not just on Hydra's little port, but the country. And 6 weeks later, they opened. Granted, we laughed, the paint was still drying, but a spectacular opening, and it was wonderfully done. Okay? Anyway, that beside the point. I knew this was coming, and Mike had said, we're going to be there for the day before the opening. We're covering the opening. We want to do a little thing about Greece before the opening ceremony. And I went, oh, this is Jesus, man, this is fucking it. So I said, look, I can set you up with the mayor. He's a mate of mine, Anastopoulos, and oh yeah, we can do it. By the time he arrived, we'd done everything. Now, I had said to these guys, and this is where it gets really funny, okay? I'd said to these guys, I mean, I knew the value of this. I don't know what the word BBC World for the Olympic opening is, but for what ended up being shit. They didn't go anywhere else. They only came to Hydra. We had such a good time. They didn't film rural Greece anywhere else. So the whole thing, right? Donkey rides. I said to the donkey man, hey, don't charge. It's BBC, man. You guys are going to be famous. You're going to be on television. And yeah, because they were my mates. And then I went to a taverna and they said, and they want to do plate throwing. They said, no, we don't throw plates anymore. We throw flowers. So I said to Mike Bushell, who's BBC well-known sports character, a really nice guy, I said to him, listen, they don't throw plates anymore. He says, well, I know there's a place in Plaka, so we'll just go back there. And I said, well, no, to cut a long story short, I got Ingeborg to put them up in her house because it was empty. There was no such thing as Airbnb in those days. They all came, they spent the night. We did everything. And I said to the Taverna out in Vlechos, I said to Maria, Despina at the time, I said, hey, get some plates. Oh, no, we don't. I said, get some plates out. Otherwise, they're going to go to fucking Plaka and take their whole crew, and they're going to be famous. And your Taverna will be seen all over the world. Rick, come on. Take a few plates out of the kitchen and broken, cracked ones, it doesn't matter, and do a little oopa. You'll be on camera, and I got, Harriet was involved, and hey, we did all that shit. And the water taxi, we did filming from outside the port, donkey rides up there, an interview with the mayor. I mean, we did the whole 9 yards. In fact, it was so good that Mike wrote to me and said, we're coming to do Greece again, a year, what it's like after the Olympics. And we're coming back to Hydra, looking forward to seeing you, blah, blah, blah. And they did it again. We appeared again on the BBC World. Which in those days, before social media, was big fucking nuts, right? Like billions of people watching. And I thought to myself, wow, David and Anastopoulos, my old mate, the mayor, got it. But here's the thing afterwards. My documentary was it, and they all knew about this, and they all thought, who did all this? Yeah, David, yeah. And they came up to me, posso canire, posso ifes. I said, tipo t'adoro, eh? I mean, okay, how much did you earn, for doing this? How much did you make? This is Greece and Egypt, right? I said, fuck all, and we gave it to them. It's a gift. What? I said, yeah, man, I didn't take anything for your donkey ride. It was a gift. You're on the fucking World TV. Same with everybody else. Even the taverna, I said, guys, you got to give them a little lunch. They didn't eat much, but you got to give it on the house, for God's sake. Don't take advantage. Oh, we heard CNN went to Bacchus or some other place and they were charged like $100 or something, which was a fortune back then, right? So I went, no, guys, you don't understand. Because if you treat these guys, and they're really nice people, you do it for your family. Give them a lunch. Throw some old plates around. Make a party out of it. Guess what? There was all seen from Tokyo to Anchorage. I mean, and it worked really well. And to me, I thought, you know how much that, I can't remember how long it was, but it was a lot. Anyway, bottom line is, I thought, do you know how much in advertising that would have cost? To buy an advert in BBC World, with that readership, cost per thousand and all that shit. Going back to my marketing days, I was thinking, that was my biggest coup ever. I got my island on the world service all on my lonesome. And it just happened. Now, a Super Bowl advert for 30 seconds or something cost millions. I mean, I don't know, but fucking fortunes. What would that amount of viewership, etc., around the world cost? It's priceless. And they were coming to me saying, Posso cani si? I said, you don't understand. It was a Mugalo Doro Yatonissimas. It was a big gift for our island. They loved it. This is the best promotion. Nobody got any fucking money. We did them a favor. Even Ingeborg, who was a Dutch journalist, and it was a dear friend, said, man, you should have charged them, And I said, no, I know the BBC. They don't. And I was a journalist, so I know what it's like being on that side. So it really helped. I also know marketing because I was... it was my second job, was dealing with advertising agencies. In fact, I went from journalism to advertising because I was getting bored of the little paper, and then they heard I was moving and said, oh, you've got to come. And I said, salesman? I said, I'm too shy, man. I can't do that shit. They said, no, you don't understand. You're going to deal with advertising agencies only. I went, okay. I'll tell you what we'll do, David. You come and work for us for 3 months. It was the marketing division of the company. For 3 months. And if you don't like it after 3 months, we're going to double your salary and give you... No, they didn't say car. There was a chair. Double your salary. And if you don't like it, you can come back to this job as a journalist. You can still work on this newspaper in the same position and with a raise. But not the same money, obviously. And so I did. And hence I moved into the world of advertising. So there, man, and I did marketing courses with these guys. And fuck, I loved it. I took to it because it was not anybody's money. It was the client's money, an annual budget. Anyway, the bottom line is, I understand the value of this. So Rhubarb from a rock, God bless you. You actually were a marketing coup that some advertising agencies or people around the world would have paid a fortune to do what this little book, ultimately this was responsible for it. What a coup. And here's the funny thing, I don't give a shit that nobody remembers or knows or understands. Right, today's story about a rant. I'm exhausted, but I'm hoping that this is therapy, and now you're going to look at this once. We don't do editing, and we don't do, because there's all shit for that. Like I was saying, how many hours did I learn to try fucking Photoshop? Jesus, and now look at it. Little phone, ding, ding, ding. I mean, anyway, that's my point. I like this sort of stuff. Whew. All right. Goodbye for now.